morning, everybody, and a happy Friday morning to you. I hope everybody's week went well. I know mine sure did. Now, we have a lot to cover, as you can see from the thumbnail, so let's just jump in because there's just so much. Let's go. To start with, Prince William and Princess Catherine did a round carousel on Instagram of their summer activities. I'm changing the music, obviously, for copyright, but watch this. Catherine, there's a jewelry brand called Heavenly London. It's an independent British label, has just landed its big order from Selfridges. Now, it started out on a kitchen table in 1993, and they credit Catherine, the Princess of Wales, with transforming the company's future. Catherine has been spotted in the Heavenly London's pearl and diamond earrings. They are 195 pounds. She's been seen wearing them on multiple occasions, and each appearance triggers an immediate commercial response. She said, suddenly there's this flurry of activity on the website, especially from America. You know exactly what's happened because her followers are so loyal. Now, another big person is Jennifer Lopez, who's also been spotted wearing the Sienna earrings on Jimmy Kimmel. And so I'm glad it's going well for her. Let's continue. Now, moving on, a PR expert praised William and Catherine, saying their brand is authentic, and highlighted it as the major reason that Harry and Meghan's public image fails in comparison. Meghan is polarizing in the public eye because they frequently swap and change, she said. Normal people are who they are. They're authentic, and you know that's what you're going to get 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Unfortunately, that's not what you get with Harry and Meghan. Harry, since meeting Meghan, they haven't quite worked out what they are. And that's why people are tired of them. People can slip up, people can make a mistake, and we can forgive them. But Harry and Meghan are somebody different all the time. Their PR strategy differs massively to William and Catherine's, who are predictable, honorable, and dedicated to duty. They don't come out and say surprising things. They're just authentic, and you know that what you see is what you're going to get. And that spilled out in her Master Chef appearance. For instance, I showed you the other day, the Royal Griff put together a video that one day she's saying, oh, my mother was a great cook and it was farm to table. And then on another appearance on her own show, she goes, yeah, I was a latchkey kid and I ate a lot of TV dinners. And that's the problem. She lies all the time and she gets caught. Now, also on her Master Chef, they had a body analysis expert look at her on the show, and they said that she felt superior to contestants during her guest judging appearance. One of the observations was the 30 minutes. Instead of shouting out, she went to each person because she was relishing her heightened status in the kitchen, her unapologetic eye contact. You know, I mean, she had a raised chin and intense eye contact. She was feeling superior over the contestants. A suppressed smile, raised eyebrows, and the defiant chin. You know, she just was like, I'm in charge and you're beneath me. Exactly. It was that very thing that she did. Instead of just announcing 30 minutes, her running around. They're saying that she did that because she wanted additional airtime. And also the FaceTime interruption, they're saying, was a cold and calculated TV stunt. It was cringeworthy and it was overly rehearsed. Now, moving on, another day, another British royal family drama. And the last one has to do with that picture that I've shown you a gazillion times of her kids walking towards Diana's grave. Now, there's been no confirmation of the location, but that hasn't stopped the controversy, and it's upset people who normally defend Meghan, and the backlash isn't just coming from her critics anymore. They're zeroing in not just on the visit itself, but the fact that this was a private moment and it was shared in the first place. Diana's grave has always been treated as a place of quiet reflection. That's where the photo was taken, or in that area. So apparently they're saying that not just William now, but the king is very upset because they had recently met with him. They had talked about everything was supposed to remain private, and he was genuinely shocked. And even people who usually refuse to comment are wincing. Let me jump back now. For those of you who don't know, Meghan was paid to be on MasterChef, and that money didn't go to charity and went right into her pocket. Well, she apparently, it's being reported now, is urging Harry to drop his perceived snobbish attitude towards Hollywood to do more to financially support their family. They're saying she wants him to monetize their royal status through media appearances, podcasts, and commercial ventures. That she believes Harry's titles and royal profile are major assets and they should be leveraged for commercial gain, feeling that all the weight shouldn't fall entirely on her. I don't believe it has fallen on her. I think she's used all of Harry's inheritance. Up until now, it has been Harry, all Harry. And let me just add that her being called a duchess and a meal fit for a duchess is against the Sandringham Agreement, where she wouldn't use her title for commercial gain. With that, it's being reported that Meghan has demanded that Harry stop making everything about his ongoing battles with the royal family because she needs to focus on her own upcoming career priorities. Well, guess what one of those career priorities is? A tell-all book. Well, we've been hearing about this for a very long time, multiple offers coming in. What is she going to do? The buzz has been circulating for years. And since Harry was paid $20 million in advance for Spare, I think she thinks she can bring that kind of money in. The problem is she was never the draw. It was Harry. Nobody wants to hear her because anything she puts in a book is going to be a lie, or she's going to continue to try to correct the narrative like she did in the Netflix show, and nobody took it then either. All right, I wanted to touch on this before we move on. We know that the king has offered Buckingham Palace to Harry again when he comes back for Wellchild, but apparently the staff is not happy with the idea of that. The staff has a lot of resentment towards Harry. They don't like the way that he treated his grandparents. They don't like the way he's treated the rest of the family, and nothing has changed. The king may want Harry under the roof, but many of the people who work there don't. They feel so betrayed by everything that was in Spare and the interviews, and the resentment is real. So it'll be interesting to see how they get staff to work there. Maybe they'll need a volunteer. All right, here we go. Cookie Queens. There was a special screening of, they're saying it, of Meghan's documentary, her documentary. It's not hers. In Los Angeles on July 28th. She attended a special screening, which we know what this is all about, and all Harry and Meghan did was executive produce it. Basically, it was already going. They just gave some money and slapped their names on it, just like everything else. So there's a Q&A session. And what does Meghan do? She starts gushing about Harry. Listen to this.
Funny enough, I was thinking about something my husband told me ages ago, because we all go through experiences, and life is full of surprises. But he was a helicopter pilot in the British Army for 10 years. And sometimes on really hard days, I remember once he said, "Yeah, but my love, even if there's a storm happening, above the storm, the sun's always shining." And that's a perspective that only comes when you think about zooming out a little bit. So I think when you really zoom out and think, my gosh, how many things have we gone through that felt hard and then you still get through them? Or how many goals did you think you're not going to hit and then you hit them and you supersede them? So it's so important to maintain that perspective that no matter what feels insurmountable, there's just always that sun shining above it.
Of course, she also talked about the kids. They haven't seen the film, but they love all the cookies we've had through the process. I mean, I swear, she never talks about what she's there to talk about. She always manages to turn it to herself, her husband, her children, her house, her garden, how she was a Girl Scout. She wasn't a Girl Scout, she was a brownie. And I know that because I was a brownie and I had the same outfit. So it's always, this is what you get with a malignant narcissist. Everything is about her. Everything has to revolve around her. It's never about the other people. And I say again, by the time she came on board with this project, it was pretty much done. They just slapped their names on it, and it's not going to earn her any money. All right, I have one more thing I want to touch on. You guys may not know this. The Obamas, the Clintons, Trump's children have all received taxpayer-funded security paid for by the Canadian taxpayers. And they spent more to protect Harry over 5 years during his visits than any other internationally protected person over the same period. These are documents obtained by CBC News under Canada's Access to Information Law. They spent $539,575 to provide security between 2014 and 2015 and 2019 and 2020 when Harry traveled to Canada for events like Invictus Games or when he was dating Meghan. I mean, I'm sorry, Canadian taxpayers should not be paying to cover for Harry's security. Now, the cost to protect him and Meghan accounted for 10% of the overall $5.2 million spent during that period to provide security to more than 100 internationally protected persons. persons. Shocking. I mean, I just don't even know what to say about that. The man's a multimillionaire. Canada should put its foot down. He's not a working royal anymore. You shouldn't be paying for that. All right, let's move on to our big story for today. Prince Harry's legal battle with the publisher of Daily Mail has taken an expensive turn, let me tell you. After losing the case earlier this month, Harry and the other claimants, Elton John, Sadie Frost, Elizabeth Hurley, Doreen Lawrence, they're all facing a legal bill that could run into the tens of millions of pounds. The publisher says it spent about £34.5 million or $45.9 million defending the lawsuit and is asking the court to order Harry's side to begin paying those costs. So they had a hearing, and the publisher's lawyer argued that Harry's legal team repeatedly refused to turn over research documents that were supposed to be shared as part of the court process. He also claimed they were late in providing other evidence, which he said significantly increased the publisher's legal costs. This lawyer went even further, describing the claimant's case as chaotic and ill-disciplined. He said that Harry's side introduced new allegations during the trial while abandoning other allegations, forcing the defense to spend time and money preparing for claims that were ultimately dropped. And he told the court that this constant shifting approach was, in his words, highly unreasonable and inexcusable. So Harry and the other claimants disagree with the court's ruling and are expected to challenge the decision. But the publisher says the judgment fully vindicates its position, and now it's seeking to recover the millions of pounds it spent defending the case. So while the legal battle isn't necessarily over, one thing that is becoming very clear is this case could end costing Prince Harry and the other claimants extraordinary amounts of money. And not everybody has that money. Doreen Lawrence does not have the funds, and it's our understanding through the articles that we're looking at that she didn't have the insurance either. Let me also remind you, the insurance total for everybody was only going to cover about 16 million pounds, and now they're saying that they don't have to cover, and they're trying to get out of it. So the hearing that was going to determine how much of the Mail's legal costs went on Wednesday. An association said it was an overwhelming victory for its newspapers and journalists and for a free press. Harry, of course, described the ruling as complete and obvious whitewash. For those of you who don't understand what indemnity basis means, it means that the losing party must cover the other side's charges without the need to show that they were proportionate. And that is why the insurance is now trying to get out of paying. But the total, again, for the insurance policy is only 16 million. Now, in a scathing attack, the A&L lawyer said that the case was designed to create a banquet of litigation against Associated, and they had made wide-ranging and serious allegations with no supporting evidence, and that also added to their costs. He also said that Harry's statement after the ruling was an abuse of his position and celebrity status, that it was entirely inappropriate and unreasonable, which I happen to agree. Now, Associate is asking for an interim payment of £10 million. Just as an FYI, David Sherborne, it appears, is not handling the appeal. An attorney by the name of Nicholas Bacon was acting as a lawyer for the claimants, and he said in their submission that the £34.5 million legal bill was eye-watering and far exceeded the agreed budget, and there was clearly a shortfall from the level of security, money that they had in place. And now he's saying A&L wants to go for the jugular and teach the claimants a lesson by obtaining the indemnity costs. And they have offered an interim payment of £8 million, which will be paid by August 28th. Now, in his ruling rejecting the case, Judge Nicklin said the claimants needed to prove that information published about them had been obtained unlawfully, but had failed to do so, and that a suspicion alone was not enough. So in written submissions, Harry's attorney also said that any application for permission to appeal that decision had been deferred until Nicklin gave his judgment on the costs. So there was a hearing on the 29th. There was a hearing on the 30th. We do not know when Judge Nicklin is going to make his decision for how much these people are going to be on the hook for. I do find it very interesting that David Sherborne, who's been running this whole show up until now, is not the one in court fighting for Harry. He seems to have stepped back. I don't know if he's in the same legal group. I don't know what's going on. As far as the claimants go, I think Elton John can afford to pay his bills. I think Sadie Frost and Elizabeth Hurley can also afford it. Harry will be bankrupt. Doreen Lawrence certainly doesn't have the funds, and neither, in my opinion, does the MP. Now, if anything else comes out about this case, I will follow up with you guys. But that is really something, isn't it? Well, you guys know what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep an eye on this. I'm going to keep an eye on everything. And if anything else comes up, you know I'll follow up on it as I always do. So don't forget to hit that like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale on Amazon, a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.